Leanne, you were so great last week that we had to bring you back for another week.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. I can't believe this is fantastic.
It's great. I feel like when you shared it on LinkedIn, there was like so much feedback about it. So your franchise friends are really pulling through.
It's a social.
All right, let's go ahead and dive right in. So first up, one of the stories that hit 1851 this week that I thought was interesting for our readers and listeners, I guess, is 3 tips for creating a successful franchise sales budget. So obviously with new FDDs being filed and throughout the year as budgets are spent, things are always shifting. But this, I think, outlined a couple of good points that people need to consider. So whether you're looking at those unit level economics to determine what exactly needs to go where for each department, making sure that you're putting money behind the discovery process so that it's substantial enough to get people interested in becoming a franchise owner. And then obviously investing in local marketing and making sure that franchisees are happy. I think that those are all 3 really good points. I think the one thing that I'll add to this too, that oftentimes I feel like I hear all the time that whenever sales are really slow or it's a really good year for the economy, so people aren't necessarily buying into franchising, a lot of people want to cut back their budgets. But one thing I think that people forget is that that's the time when you really should be spending money, because eventually things are going to turn. People are going to start looking into this opportunity, becoming a business owner if and when the economy takes a dip. And you want your brand name to be the one that's out there versus starting from scratch when everyone's going to be kind of jumping in that pool. So that's my budget recommendation at the very least.
Yeah, a good point. When everybody else is cutting, why not be the one who's not cutting? And not only that, a lot of campaigns, they need momentum. So if it's a slow time, why not use time to build that momentum and get the people out there who are searching, and then you kind of got a leg up against everybody else. I thought one of the other interesting points in here is using your dollars wisely. And I think talking with so many franchisors in my course of working in franchising, one of the things that many people don't know, which I think is interesting, is the cost to acquire a franchisee. So really understanding what not only the investment level, like how much you have to allocate towards getting a new franchisee and what that cost is. I know there's standards out there from Franchise Update Media and other organizations that kind of put an average after interviewing and researching other brands. But I think one of the main things that a franchise brand should do is understand the cost to acquire a customer so they know how much they need to spend in order to acquire a customer. Usually the higher the investment, the more the brand has to spend in order to market it. And I think that gets forgotten. I think budgets are looked at in silos as opposed to the overall big picture. So I wanted to point that out from the article as well. I think that's really important to consider.
All right. So then in aggregated, a story that I think is going to be pretty big news in franchising, as it often is, but the National Labor Relations Board, NLRB, did publish their final rule updating its joint employer regulations. So this is set to go into effect at the end of April. So with this new ruling, restaurants may be considered a joint employer only if they maintain a quote unquote substantial control over the workers' like essential terms of employment. So that would be things like hiring, firing, wages, benefits, hours, schedules, all of those really day-to-day things. So that obviously is going to fall on the franchisees. So I think that this is something that the franchising industry should be pretty happy with.
Yeah, that's a lot of hard work from the IFA and the whole team involved getting that to pass. So that's really exciting news for franchising.
Yeah, definitely. All right, and then taking a look at our power rankings this week. So a lot of the brands that we have in the top 6 actually have stayed the same from the week prior, but coming in at number 7 is Wing Zone, and last week they were number 16. So huge swing there. And then Lawn Doctor is actually a brand that is climbing. They are currently number 9, and last week they were 13. So, and that's a brand that obviously we're really transparent with how these power rankings are decided and determined every week. So if you are on the platform, you're eligible to be on this list. And if you're boosting these stories out with a budget, obviously there's a higher likelihood that you're going to rise to the top. But for a brand like Lawn Doctor that I know isn't necessarily doing a ton of that paid media behind some of their stories, it is possible to have trending content even without those ad dollars behind it. So just always like to point that out.
That's right. Because if you share on social, again, the power of social, you can do great things.
Exactly. All right. And then this is our favorite time when I pretend to be Nick and dissect his column. So again, Nick, no feedback last week. So I don't know if you made it this far in the podcast last week when you weren't hosting. But your column this week is all about everyone is fishing in the same lead pool. So essentially it's a question that I know that Nick gets asked, you get asked it, Liane, I get asked it all the time, like what's new in franchising? And really it's the fact that whenever there's a good pool of leads, for example, like multi-unit franchisees are really popular right now. That's where everyone is going to run. Everyone's going to start trying to target that. And it makes sense because a good franchise lead, for the most part, it could be a little different, but if they're going to be a good franchisee, the industry might not matter as much. So I think that it's just making sure that you're doing what you can getting ahead, because once there's that little spark of interest or a sign that a different category is going to be good for where leads are coming from, everyone's going to jump in.
Right. So I thought it was funny that if everybody's going after the same pool of people, or as Nick refers to it, in the same pond, you're all going after the same people, and it just keeps getting smaller and smaller. So, where do you go to fish? You go and try and find a new spot where nobody else is fishing. Of course, that's easier said than done, but especially with digital marketing, and everybody's, putting budgets behind digital marketing nowadays. So we're all going after the same people, and we're all looking for that one multi-unit owner, a big enough portfolio, who wants to open in this specific area. So it is not an easy task, and I also think that we have to do a better job at combining sales and marketing. So we have a big drive of salespeople on the franchise development side, but it's really a marketing effort to combine with sales. So being more cognizant marketers as a sales team, I think will help, kind of get to the right person better. It's my little
that's a good point. All right. Thank you. You'll have to let us know how we did, but it's a good one. As always, check it out on 1851. We still have 40 seconds to spare, but I feel like that's it. Well, thank you for co-hosting with me again. I appreciate it. So much fun having you back. And have a great week.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Bye.